Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Group 3, I would like to thank you all for allowing us to present to you today. The presentations this morning have been so wonderful. Great work, everyone. I am so proud of us. Our presentation is entitled Learning from the Pandemic, Mechanics of Post-Pandemic Programming. It is my honor to introduce you all to Group 3. We are Ashley Torres, Youth Services Librarian, El Dorado County Library, Brittany Garcia, Adult and Teen Services Supervisor, Rancho Cucamonga Public Library, Brian Duran, Materials Manager, San Francisco Public Library, Sasha Kinney, Adult Services and Reference Librarian, Sacramento Public Library, and myself, Shamika Simpson, Collection Development and Outreach Librarian, Long Beach City College Library.
So today I want to talk about hope. Hope is hard, especially given our circumstances. We are in the middle of a global traumatic event. Let that sink in. You are living through history right now, this very second. In the years to come, people will ask you, where were you during COVID? What were you doing? Did you lose anyone? Did you get sick? It is a common shared experience imbued with various levels of trauma of the unknown, trauma of disease and death, trauma of milestones uncelebrated and forgotten, trauma of the sudden pause of our normal way of living. This event has affected so many avenues of our lives, from our jobs to school to our mental and physical health. It has even exacerbated life for those in our world who were already at a disadvantage, suffering from inequity, or those in marginalized communities. Those in our community who rely on their library and its services for their basic needs and livelihood have been devastatingly affected by this global event. We all know this. We have seen the side effects of COVID-19. But throughout the pandemic, libraries have found a way to be the light in the dark and provide hope through services to their communities. Services like curbside, virtual programming, free lunches, and more. Libraries are providing hope. Let that wash over you. Hope. Hope for betterment, hope for normal, hope for survival, hope for just a new tomorrow. All this time, libraries have been that beacon of hope, attempting to keep the darkness at bay. But they can't do everything. Right now, there isn't enough staffing or funding or time to support our communities, especially those in need. For some library staff and even patrons, it can feel as if hope is slipping away. We are here to show you that the fight and grit of libraries keeping that fire hope alive is still there, but the support and fuel for that fire is direly needed.
With hope in mind, we knew we wanted to select an urgent and time-sensitive topic, which is why we chose post-COVID-19 library service models. Programming is something all library types share in common, and it is also a library service that was dramatically changed due to COVID-19. With our project, we wanted to create a toolkit that can be a guide for those who want to tackle post-COVID-19 programming. Within our toolkit, we focus on trauma-informed approach because we are looking at programming holistically from both an end user and library staff perspective. COVID has been a traumatic event and has brought out mental health issues from those who have previously experienced mental health issues and those who have not. We also want our toolkit to reflect being equity-focused. While being equity-focused isn't cheap, it is a cost to libraries to provide PPE, table dividers, etc. It is necessary and will support the communities as a whole. Everyone should know that they are seen, and everyone should feel safe and comfortable in their library.
So in February and March, our team conducted a survey to understand the state of programming in California libraries. I'm not going to review each question or response, but the survey did inform what we brought to our toolkit, so I want to review some of it. So on this first slide here, you'll see that there were 66 responses from libraries. So the majority, 57 respondents, were from public libraries. 6 respondents are from school libraries, and 3 respondents are from academic libraries. As you see on the chart, the majority of libraries, so 70%, offered some sort of virtual programming in the last year. Here you see that we asked about library programming successes. So by far the biggest success that libraries said that they experienced was virtual programming. So close to 40 respondents said that, and some of them noted the book to action programming. So that's a state library shout out. Author visits, talks by city experts such as the city historian. Also notable is that adult and teen virtual programming grew more attendees than children's virtual programming. And also by archiving live and asynchronous videos, so that's like pre-recorded videos, patrons could access programs later, and so they're able to attend on their own time. So that's important to know for when you are offering a virtual programming. Also, hybrid programming. So that's, for example, where patrons pick up material to do at home in a live or pre-recorded video. Hybrid programs were also popular, and nearly 18% of our respondents said that grab and go programs were one of their most successful programs. Some hybrid programs included snow globe making, craft kits, and STEAM kits. And then lastly, if in-person programs were offered at a library, they were passive and socially distanced. So examples included things like story walks, a poetry walk for National Poetry Month, and drive-through events. On slide 3, you see that we asked about post-COVID challenges. So we really wanted to know what libraries were concerned with after we emerged from the pandemic. So roughly 33% said that staffing would be an issue, and 31% said funding. Other responses included building partnerships and safely gathering. And we do address funding issues, building partnerships, and safely gathering in our toolkit. And then lastly, for the survey, we asked about resources that libraries would need in order to conduct excellent programming. The top requests included funding resources, additional staff, an idea sharing platform, technology support, and training for staff. For idea sharing, we have created a Slack account, and this is a good opportunity for libraries to conduct recharge and learn something new, and we will share that Slack account later in our presentation.
You have heard our why, and you saw our survey results that Sasha presented. Now hear why we created a post-pandemic COVID programming toolkit. Library programming is an evergreen topic. Our toolkit, website, and Slack channel will be a living document to provide resources and support for library programs. The toolkit is divided into the following sections: virtual, hybrid, in-person, partnerships, survey, and resources. Within each of the programming sections, we include planning, policy, barriers, and notable programs. In the aftermath of COVID-19, we have to be cognizant of the apprehension people may feel surrounding attending in-person events. I know many of us were hoping to return to our post-COVID lives. I know I was hoping so as well. The future is unknown, and we don't know with 100% certainty of the efficacy of the vaccine, long-term effects, or another COVID-19 outbreak. With that said, virtual programming is here to stay. Asynchronous, on demand, and synchronous, live, programs break regional barriers, allow library users to participate from anywhere around the world, and are inclusive to all. Libraries have stepped up to continue to serve library users via virtual programming throughout the stay-at-home order. Being aware of the digital divide, libraries understand that not all users had access to virtual programs. Thus, many libraries began lending Wi-Fi hotspots and Chromebooks or tablets. There are quite a few benefits to virtual programming, so I will name just a few. Live programs provide human interaction without human contact. Live programs that utilize Zoom can also live stream via Facebook or YouTube. On-demand programs can be made accessible via library websites for library users to view at any time. Accessibility. Closed captioning makes videos accessible for deaf and hard of hearing patrons. Reading captions also benefits early readers, struggling readers, and English language learners. Virtual programs can be tailored for neurodivergent patrons by providing an online environment that is free from loud sounds, crowds, and other overwhelming stimuli.
So this idea of hybrid programming is what we looked at next. So hybrid programming is nothing new, but one of the benefits, and one of the biggest benefits that I'm sure we all can identify with, is hybrid programming allows us to curb Zoom fatigue. This past year, we've all been online, interacting, being able and having the opportunities to welcome our community in person, but also virtual, is a fantastic mode of programming. Other benefits include, offering on your own time projects. So essentially, folks can engage with the library when they want to. And while we're engaging with our community, we can also, through the virtual aspect of hybrid programming, we can reach a broader community. So some of the planning that goes into hybrid programming includes security settings for digital platforms, making these programs accessible, but also when providing a physical space, ensuring that that space is both adhering to current guidelines set forth to the CDC, and also, ensuring that your community that you're serving is safe being in that environment. Since hybrid programming is inherently sharing some of the aspects of both virtual, like Shamika just spoke on, and in person, which we'll hear about in a second, the challenges are similar to this mode of programming, but also pretty unique when you're looking at hybrid programming. Two barriers that we found are scarcity in resources, but also scarcity in space. The space that we have available to hold these programs. What we wanted to do in our toolkit when looking at hybrid programming was we wanted to offer suggestions. Again, we don't want to be prescriptive. We want this to be applicable to all libraries, both public, academic, private, what have you. So, we saw libraries doing innovative stuff like utilizing household everyday materials, and even partnering with communities to have supply-driven programs where we were creating kits to give to the public to both have them, take the program into their own house and then still engage with the library. While at the same time rethinking our library spaces. So what constitutes as library space? The parking lot. So we've seen, folks incorporate the parking lot, and undoubtedly the most popular space that we've taken advantage of is our curbside to go ahead and welcome our public and engage our communities. Beyond this, we've seen the importance of partnerships when it comes to hybrid programming. Partnerships with our community, really, reestablishing our relationships within our community. So whether that is a walk in a trailed area, or, exploring bike lanes in our city, hybrid programming really gave us the opportunity to really just connect with, our community where they're at, and just really have them really see their community in a different perspective. So it was really fantastic to look at hybrid programming.
We understand that the mechanics of in-person programming in a post-pandemic setting, or even a transitional setting, is probably one of the most anticipated portions of this toolkit. The section follows the structure of the toolkit to address planning, policy, barriers, and notable programs, All recommendations are based on research, data, and best practices. We found a big part of the concern and anxiety rooted within library communities, as seen with the survey, were when will it be normal again? When can we start serving our community to our fullest capacity? And what does that road even look like? Unfortunately, we don't have a crystal ball to say your organization should do X or Y, but we have some basic guidelines and paths of consideration to get you on that road to safe and sustainable in-person programming in our toolkit. The in-person programming section covers recommended policies that should be created, reviewed, or even updated, including your code of conduct, policy on masks beyond COVID, such as just during the flu season, programming policy or guidelines to assist in addressing the why behind certain programs returning over other programs. In terms of barriers, we wanted to allocate a space in the toolkit for logistical and big picture concerns such as safety and regulation, space capacity, staffing resources, budget, digital literacy, and technology access. In addition, we provide methodologies for assessing community need and interest, as pre-COVID versus post-COVID needs and interests are bound to vary greatly with some demographics. Methods include viewing the census, the COVID household pulse survey, circulation trends, or even internally generated surveys. Lastly, there is a small list of programming recommendations, but as this is the in-person portion, many libraries have done successful in-person programming before COVID. The importance of this section is knowing your organization's bandwidth of resources and being able to offer sustainable programming in person that are safe for everyone, including staff. And we do include a nice section about staff and patron well-being in terms of practicing trauma-informed services internally as well as externally. The most important part is actually meeting a community need and not a need you think is needed in a post-pandemic world.
So at this opportunity, after Sasha, presented our findings, through our survey, Shamika chatted about virtual programming. I told you a little bit about hybrid programming, and Brittany now just addressed in-person programming. We want to return back to this idea of hope. Brittany really encapsulated this idea by just saying, hope is hard. This year has been hard. This year has been challenging, and as we, embark on our own reopenings in our institutions, this idea of normalcy still seems pretty far away. But with a plan and with working together, we can, maybe not go back to a normal, but go back to something even better. And that's what we really hoped to do in this project, was just to address the challenges, offer a platform for folks to voice their concerns, but then also deal with the loss of hope and how can we all move forward collectively as, a state, but also, as people that come to this profession wanting to serve our community and wanting to help instill this idea of hope. So that being said, that would lead us to our ask.
With the data we gathered in our survey and in collaboration with our toolkit, we're asking the California State Library to fund 50 or more mini grants of up to $5,000 related to post-pandemic programming, with 20 or more of them being specifically designated for non-public libraries, including but not limited to academic, legal, school, special, military, and tribal libraries. We're also asking the California State Library to sponsor the post-pandemic programming Slack channel. This channel will be used to share post-pandemic programming ideas, thoughts, questions, and support. Our group commits to being the admins of the Slack channel for the next year. And finally, we would also like to ask the California State Library to sponsor or provide technology support for library staff. There are varying degrees on what this could possibly look like, but it is our hope for the State Library to provide a support page for library staff to gain knowledge and confidence for using technology needed for this new post-pandemic programming world. Some examples would include Zoom tech help, how to close caption videos, and tech help for hybrid programming.